been doing this show now for almost 20 years. I started out doing this on at the Panera Bread, the local coffee shop right here in Centerville, Virginia, and it's been branching out since we've had COVID-19 to make sure that we've had so many different guests and visitors and friends, and we get to impact the entire world now. We don't have to wait for people to come to the coffee shop. We can just log on and talk to thousands of people all at the same time, which is great. Today's show is super special, and I got a super special guest for you, a guest coach, a consultant. She is absolutely a genius when it comes to government contracting and helping small businesses do their life coaching as well as their business coaching. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Ms. Gail Walker is going to blow you guys away. You're going to love working with her as we go through all of our discussions for today. And just so you know, and for those of you who are just logging on and paying attention, I love engagement. We're going to create as much engagement as we possibly can today. So if you have a question, feel free to throw it out in the chat. If you have a discussion point that you want to make, put that information in there. If you're just logging on for the first time, love to know who you are, where you're from. Put in your shout out to your area that you're from. If you're from New Jersey or wherever you are, just go ahead and put that information out there. And I'm looking to make sure that we develop as many connections and opportunities for one another as possible. I'm a big SWAM business advocate. Anything small, women-owned, minority-owned businesses, I'm all about doing what I can to help support them, whether it's paid or free. It doesn't really matter to me because it's all about trying to find ways for those opportunities to connect and make happen. It's funny, Gail and I were talking backstage, and she's getting ready, getting all pretty for you guys. We were talking backstage, and we were talking about government contracting, and it just reminded me that that was a time in my life when that's all I thought about was trying to figure out how to get into the government contracting space and how to help government contractors. Because if you know anything about the Washington metropolitan area, I would say a good 80% of all business that goes on around here is government contracting business. And so people are working with DOD, they're working with all of the HUD and all the different government agencies, trying to figure out ways to give them services and products and all that kind of stuff. And I remember a good friend of mine, Mr. Perrin Mitchell. He was the congressman that helped pass the 8A legislation. He and another friend of mine, Ted Adams, kind of co-wrote that information. And he used to tell us all the time, how difficult it was. It has been since in the 70s when they originally created that 8A legislation to now. What the government contracting space looks like, and it's been a lot of changes. They've dealt with a lot of bundling and a lot of bonding and a lot of less important that you are able to build relationships, and it's all about capabilities and how many contract vehicles you can put on your capability statement and how can you use those pretty well. So it's fun stuff. It's interesting stuff. And I know that Gail is a specialist in all these types of things, so she can help you kind of organize. If that's something that you're interested in, definitely connect with her. In fact, she gave us I'm going to give her a little heads up. This is her Facebook page that she shared with us, and I'm going to go ahead and post this out in the public chat so that everyone can see. And you all don't have to worry about how you are going to get in front of our speaker today. Donnell, I see you out there, my brother, who's pretty. Who's not you, Donnell. It's not you who's pretty. It's Gail who's pretty, and she is going to be one of our guest speakers today. But it's so good to see you out there, my brother. It's nice to have you on the show. If you are, like I said earlier, if you're logging in for the first time or if we haven't seen you in a while, go ahead and post something in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. If there's some business information you want to share with someone about what you're doing and anything you want people to log on to, again, go ahead and post that information in the chat. And we'll make sure we keep a permanent record of that. Even after the show, you have to know this is going to be recorded. And so this is going to be recorded live on Facebook and on YouTube. And so you'll be able to go back and take the recording and do whatever you want to do, share it with whoever you want to share. But I'd love for all of you all, if you can, when you watch it on YouTube or Facebook, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe if you're feeling the show. And that'll be wonderful. Today's topic, like I said earlier, is the first step in the 9-step process of creating professional relationships. Professional relationships are so important to everything that we do because no matter how much your skills are magnified, no matter how wonderful you are at what you do, if the right people don't know what you do, then you don't have an opportunity to be as great as you could be if the right people knew. Now, it's not just about knowing what you do, they also have to like and trust you. They have to be able to relate to you, they have to be able to connect with you, and it has to be easy to be with you, to play with you, to talk to you. You have to be the kind of person who has enough social intelligence to know the basics of how to move forward with people. And the next 10 weeks is all we're going to talk about. From step one to step nine, how do you go about maximizing the value of a professional relationship? If you get in a professional relationship, what do you do? What's the first thing you do? What's the second thing you do? What's the third thing you do? And if you look at the documents that we put in the chat already for you guys, there is a tremendous amount of information there for you. And we're going to keep going over and over and back to this. So no one will have an excuse as to, I don't know what to do with professional relationships. I don't know how to find a mentor. I don't know how to find a coach. I don't know how to find a trainer or an advisor or a consultant or even a therapist, right? Every time you need something to happen for your life, there's some professional relationship that could be maximized to help you create it. But you have to know what they are, how to identify them, how to make sure you close in on those relationships and do great things. So I'm going to post the document one more time in the chat for everybody, for somebody who might be just logging on right now and you can't get to it. It is right here. You're going to see that on your Facebook page and on your LinkedIn page and probably on your YouTube page as well. And for those of you who, that's what it looks like. Now, you probably can't cut and paste it from there, but you will be able to go to the chat and you should be able to find the link and click right on it. I'm going to need you to do that because we're going to go through that document, and you can keep it on your own hard drive, do what you want to do, print it out. It's call it free training from Coach Powell. Don't say I never gave you anything, right? Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to introduce Gail, and then we're going to get into it. All right, you guys are going to love it. We're going to have a great time today. It's going to be a great show. Again, like, subscribe if you can, share this message with as many people as you can. If there's somebody out there that you want to give a shout out to, a business you want to give a shout out to, you want links to their information, go ahead and put them in the chat. That way, we can all play together. Audrey, good to see you. The boss, Audrey Watson, is in the house. All right, so it's great to see a lot of people popping in. That's wonderful. It always makes me feel good, and I know I'm not talking here about myself. Okay, and here's our little bit of a commercial, and we'll be right back after these messages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is on and popping. Here we go with this week's Coffee Tea, You and Me. I can't wait to introduce you to this rock star panelist we got showing up today. I mean, she's got the brightest smile. Oh, it's going to be amazing. I can already tell you right now, we're going to have a great time. We are going to have a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, introducing the host with the most, Miss Gail Walker. Gail, tell us about you, what you do.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure. Nice to be here with you today, Marvin. How are you doing? I hope all is well, and I hope everyone who's on this live is doing well as well. My name is Gail Walker. I am the CEO of GAH Consulting. GAH Consulting is a consulting firm within the DC metropolitan area. We reside we're based in Anne Arundel County in Arnold, Maryland. We help small businesses to be able to penetrate the government marketplace, or if you're already in the space, we help you guys to whether it's getting registered, getting your socioeconomic certifications, finding opportunities, business development, going after opportunities, contracts management, and things along that nature. So we help small to medium sized government contractors, but we also help just regular businesses or entrepreneurs to be able to take their idea and bring their idea into reality. And so we help them move from the idea stage to bringing their product and or service to market. So we do consulting for both small businesses and government contractors, and we also offer coaching services on the business side as well as on the life side, because when it comes to business, your life and your business comes together as one. And so making sure that you find a balance is very important as well. So we help in that area. So I am looking forward to this conversation today. So you can find us on Facebook at GAH Consulting, but we also have a Facebook group called Build a Business Training Network. It will be Facebook at groups at BABTN. And you can find us there. We're a few thousand strong. And what I do there is bring any information that I can to help small businesses or entrepreneurs or freelancers to be able to navigate the space of owning your own business, because there's a lot that goes along to it. And actually, in a couple of weeks, I have a SCORE banker, a retired banker, that's going to be coming to talk to us at Build It Nation about what banks look for when it comes to small businesses, who come to them for loans, how you should position yourself, and what different loan options are out there for you guys. So Marvin and I, we pretty much do the same thing. We're really passionate about bringing you guys the information that you need in order to be successful as a small business owner, especially if you're a minority small business owner and a woman as well.
Fantastic. It's so good to have you, Gail. As we said earlier, today we're talking about relationship building, and we're going to be talking about relationship building for the next 10 weeks.
Okay.
And it's important when you think about relationships, um, making sure that you make the right first steps in professional relationships up front is
Yes.
key to winning those relationships. When
Yes.
you think about people that you want to have like sitting next to you, being on your advisory council or your board of directors, or anybody who's going to be a mentor or helping you in any way, shape, or form, they need to have certain information about you, and they need to be able to validate that information in order for them to develop a maximum amount of trust in you.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but I've had to help organizations and people build, excellent advisory council relationships and excellent, situations where they have partners and co-partners and so on and so forth. And people who develop partnerships or joint venture partnerships that they don't really know each other really well kind of messes things up. Um,
Yes.
because it's been a problem. I know I've seen it. I know in your 30 years of
Oh
government
my
experience, I'm
goodness.
sure you've seen it, right?
Absolutely. And because I've also had to help them separate themselves from each other.
Uh,
And that, my friend, is traumatic for everyone involved.
right.
It's traumatic for me to see how traumatic it is for them. But it's not only one of the things that we tend that as business, when we first get an idea and we pull all the other people into our ideas, right? We what we do is we think we know people because they're friends, or there's something you might have known about them. There's a skill set that they have that you thought would work well with the team. But when you created the business, what they forgot to do was they forgot to make sure that they created a plan of how they're going to separate, because it is in any relationship. We forget that in business it's still relational, right?
Right.
So whether it's a personal relationship, a love relationship, or a business relationship, it's all still a relationship. And just as you get into a relationship, you have to from the beginning know that at some point in time, all relationships, it doesn't matter what it is or how we end up separating, all relationships have to end, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
they're the use for both one or both parties, the effectiveness of that relationship comes to a certain point where you have to move, you have to grow beyond, right? And they forget that they have to plan that out, and that becomes so traumatic when it comes time to go. It's like breaking up a marriage.
It is.
The splitting of the the splitting of the business, the split, it can be extremely traumatic. And communication and listening, because a lot of times what happens, to be honest, Marvin, if they would listen to each other the whole time they were in the relationship in the first place, because one or the other is always trying to tell it's rarely that you have business partners where they're all strong-willed. There tends to be someone who has, the strongest personality, and then someone who gives. It's not that they don't have a strong personality, but they know how to bend and sway, and so they find them. They're always giving and giving and giving until they can't give anymore, because they've been speaking to that other person and telling them how unhappy that they were, and how weird that it sounds, just like a marriage, right? Or a relationship, a love relationship, because you have the person who is always trying to communicate with you and tell you what they see is going wrong, or how you're making them feel, and how your actions and your words are affecting them. And the thing that happens is when they're not listening.
So true. I remember as a financial advisor, in my previous business life, 20 years in the trenches,
Mhm.
I would have, it was 80% of my clients would be women. And I would tell them, listen, before you get married, you need to understand you're bringing somebody else's financial life into your financial life, and you're going to be connected. And it's a partnership of sorts that everybody is going to expect that you have, well thought through and well understood. And
Mhm.
if you don't understand, each other's credit, each other's orientation when it comes to money, then the relationship, the number one stress on every personal relationship is money. Everybody, it always has been,
Yes.
and I'm not saying that it always will be, but I know it always has been. The number
Yes.
one stress is not just money, but it's how we think about
About
money, it's
money.
how we act about money and assets and so on and so forth. So you imagine you multiply that times 10 when you're thinking about going into a business relationship with another
Hmm.
person.
Exactly.
Right? It
Exactly.
can't be just you have this skill, I have this skill, let's partner up and see where we go. No, 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 no. Or it can't be, oh, you have resources that I need, so let me partner with you so I can figure out how I can get as many resources from you that I need, but I'm not going to bring anything to the table that's going to be of
Yes.
value to you. And
Yes.
I see this happen, especially in the government contracting space, quite a bit with these mentor protege relationships,
Yes.
where people get into these relationships where, they believe that their mentor is going to feed them
Mm-hmm.
opportunities,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so
Yes. Yes. Yes.
they sit back on their laurels and they go,
And do
okay,
nothing.
I'm just going to sit back and wait. And when the mentor does feed them opportunities, it's never the kind of opportunities they really want to have.
Exactly.
It's the
Exactly.
kind of opportunities that they have to share with them.
Right.
And now when you have to say, thank you, great mentor, for giving me business or opportunities that I really don't care about or want.
But you know what? If they would have taken part, when we talk about listening and follow through, and other aspects of having a relationship, all comes into play. It's like people think that the only relationship that you have to that you need to, to really work on are your personal ones, but that is not true.
Right.
Your business relationship, first of all, a mentor is not there to feed you anything. They're not God. They're not going to be throwing manna from the sky,
Right.
right? You have to do your part. Any relationship require if any relationship, if it's a relationship, that means there's two or more people in that. And if one person is seeing that they're the only ones working, they're going to become bitter And then they're only going to feed you whatever the scraps that they choose to feed you. If
I
that
can
other
already tell.
company would, if that other company would have been working with them as a team, asking questions, learning, getting in there and developing a relationship, a real relationship, it would have been different. The outcome
Gail,
would
you
have
and
been
I are going to
different.
have to develop a concept. We're going to call it the business prenup.
Yes. No, no, it's true. You don't know how many clients after the trauma from the business side, they
Right.
come over on the personal side because now they have to come to terms personally with, because I there is no shame in my game. If you choose me as a coach, you choose to get the truth,
Right.
because there is no sugarcoating it. I'm going to tell you like it is. There's no cursing, there's no getting down on you or anything, but I will tell you what you did right and I will tell you what you did wrong. And a
Exactly.
lot of times people refuse to take responsibility for their own actions. There's zero accountability on either side sometimes,
That's right.
right? Because you're so hurt. It goes like this. This person is so hurt that it's your fault, it's your fault. And this person is so mad because of that other person that it's your fault, it's your fault. No one's taking responsibility of the part that they played in this.
And the
Because
thing
if
about
they were
listening
working on it in the
is,
first place, it wouldn't have happened. But most importantly, for the prenup, before the prenup, they need to have counseling before they
yep,
go into that. Just like you have
yep,
marriage counseling, they need to have
absolutely,
business counseling.
absolutely.
We need to talk about that.
We're gonna have the
We
free
have to
business
do
counseling
something because
that you get
it's
your
true.
yep,
It's true. When they go into partnerships, they go into partnerships for all the wrong reasons, just like we go into marriages for all the wrong
but Gail,
reasons.
I think that the saving grace is, and a lot of us, a lot of people will go, well, now I'm just going to avoid that. I'm not going to get into any partnerships at
Yeah.
all. And all they doing that when they do that, they're just cutting off your nose to the spite of your
Yes.
face,
Like spite
because
the face
there's literally, it's impossible for you to do all the things that you have to do to be successful
on
alone.
your own.
That is
It's
literally
hard.
impossible.
It
You
is
know, you,
hard.
you
It
need
is
the
not
strength of
just
other
hard. It's
people
impossible.
in order to leverage anything.
Yes.
You can't,
Yes.
you can only leverage what you have, but when you combine it with somebody else and other
Else.
people and a team, now you
Right.
got a strong unit
You're
that can
building a
do amazing
team.
things.
Yes.
Right?
And that's the hardest thing to do, is to build the right team. And I give TD Jakes credit for he changed a lot of things when it came to my mindset with the classes and the courses that I take, because he shows you the different, you know that there are different types of people, but before I didn't really, I knew that they were different. I just didn't know how to catalog them, right?
Right.
I didn't
Right.
know how to categorize them and label them, because you don't want to label people, but there are different people, different sets of people. You
Certainly.
need them all,
Right.
but for different purposes, for different reasons, and they all have their own season. Right?
Exactly. So I
And
teach a
letting
program
go.
about the five elements that any professional can bring to the table for you. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter what they are, but you have to understand that some people are going to be great coaches.
Yes,
Some people are going to be great advisors.
yes,
Some people are going to be great consultants.
yes.
Some people are going to be great at just being sort of a therapist
Hmm.
for you.
Yes,
And then some people are going to be great mentors.
yes,
Those are literally the five categories. Now, if you understand how each of those categories work, you
yes.
will know what you need when
When
you
you
need it,
need it.
and you'll know how to identify and communicate to others to go, this is what I need.
Yes,
I need a mentor who's going to help me do blah, blah, blah. I
yes.
need an advisor who's going to teach me
Mhm.
how or
Teach
what I
me.
should learn from
Right.
blah, blah, blah. I need a
Mhm.
consultant who's going to work with me on
To move
creating
this
blah,
forward.
blah, blah. Or
Yes.
I need a
And
therapist who's going to help me stop from doing all the craziness that I used to do so I can
Yes,
move forward.
it's the changing of the mind, right? Renewing the renewal of the mind, and
Right.
not just renewing it, but changing habits.
Exactly.
Because we all come, we go into business, we go into relationships with preconceived notions and habits that we have developed along the way through our lifetime. The older you are, the more habits that you have that are not that rarely are the habits that we refuse to change, are those are the ones that truly need to change because they don't serve us very well.
You done messed up now, Gail. You done messed up now because we about to get personal right now. Give me a habit that was hard for you to change, but you figured out how to overcome it. Talk to
Okay,
me.
there were a few.
No, just one. Just give me one.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna choose the best one. To stop self sabotaging myself.
Okay, what did that look like when you were self tapping?
That
What were you
looked
doing?
like me thinking that I always beating myself up, calling myself, always calling myself out. Rarely did I pat myself on the shoulder when I did things well or right or good. But when I did things wrong or when someone else told me that I did things wrong, I beat myself up. I mean, I used to beat myself up. And then what I did was I would do things and I would say things and I would act certain ways that the opportunities that came my way, I blow it because these habits that I had that I didn't know how to deal with the things that were going on in my mind and the things that were going on in my heart. I did not know how to stop being my worst enemy.
Right.
And so that required change. For me, the person that you're seeing before you today is not the person that I used to be many years ago. I had to get clean and clear with myself and I had to do my own work before I was ever able to do right by anyone else who was communicating with me. Because I was always a helper, but it didn't necessarily mean I was doing it for the right reasons or doing it in the right way. Right. And so my biggest thing was to stop beating myself up and to stop sabotaging opportunities that came my way out of fear of rejection, fear of failure, and fear of success. Crazy, right?
Hmm.
But true.
I think that a lot of us have that same issue for a lot of reasons, and it boils down to fear, guilt, blame, and shame.
Shame.
If we could get rid of those thoughts that lead us in those directions,
Hmm.
then we can be clear-headed about where to
Yeah.
go in our future. But
Hmm.
because sometimes we get caught up in those cycles of fear, blame, shame, and all these things that make us self-sabotage, just like you said.
Yes.
And then we behave in ways
Oh
that
my
people
God.
go, well, I don't want to work with you.
Hmm.
I don't care how great your ideas is. I don't like your
Hmm.
attitude. I don't care how
Hmm.
wonderful or talented or what anybody else says about you. What I see about you right now is that you don't even like yourself. So guess
Hmm.
what? Who wants to play with somebody who
Yeah.
doesn't like
Like
themselves?
themselves, or who's going to bail on them because you bail on yourself.
Right.
So trust. No one can trust you. You can't even trust yourself. But yet you keep saying, trust me, trust me.
There was a mantra I teach all of my clients, and it is literally this: you cannot put confidence before character.
Yes.
You're going to have enough confidence because when you have confidence in yourself, people are going to see the right
Yeah.
character in you and they're
Yes.
going to believe in you and they're going to have confidence in you. But if you
Right.
don't have confidence in
So,
yourself, they're going to see that there's some discongruent, issues in your
yes.
nature, and it's going to show up somehow, some way. It's going to show up in the way you apologize for something, or show up in the way
Yes.
that you don't present something, or you keep something to you. If somebody asks you a question, it's going to show up when you flub the answer.
Yes.
Even though what you should say is, I don't know the answer to that
Right.
question. I can see how that's important. I'm going to get back to you with that answer, and so on and so forth. That's what
Yes.
that'll be okay with you.
Or being okay with saying something and realize that later on that you're wrong, and just going back and saying, you know what, I
Right.
told you XYZ, and actually, I kept thinking about it, and I went and I checked, and I was wrong, but this is the right answer. They will trust you more when you can say that you're wrong, because we all are wrong at some period in time, right? We can't
So
be right all the time. We don't know everything. We're not God.
you and I could just talk and talk forever. We're not getting to the content that we need to share with everybody. So I want to make sure that we run through that at least quickly, and
Okay.
get any questions that anybody may have asked either one of us.
Okay.
Obviously, we're both confident enough to be able to pretty much answer any question that you guys are going to throw out there about small business. And so don't worry about, you're going to stump in the coach or either of the coaches, because, we're pretty good at what we do.
One
But
or both will
let's
have to
if you
answer.
could, if those of you in the listening audience, go right to the chat, pull down today's program, which is the 9 steps to mastery, relationship mastery. And if you notice, right on the front page is an illustration, and that illustration has it's a ladder. Basically, it has 9 rungs on the ladder, and as you go up the ladder, what you're going to see is, as you begin to exhibit all 9 steps, and you cannot skip any one of those steps. Just think about it as a ladder, right? If you're going up a ladder and you try to skip the steps, what would happen? You fall down, right? Or you create an
Yes.
accident, or at least you get slowed down. When you don't want to have this whenever it comes to relationship, because there's a theory that everybody has, is that relationships take time. No, they don't take time. They take developing the right steps and moving through the right steps. And the quicker you move through the steps, the better. You don't have to do any of this stuff slow, but you do have to do each one of these things as you move up the steps in relationships. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to read the steps off to you today, but then we're going to get into the first step, which is learning how to listen, listening up, right? So if you look at the map here, on the left hand side, you might see a little bit of a scale that goes from know me, like me, to trust me, right? There's 3 steps in each of those categories. In the know category, there's listen up. That's step number 1. Then step number 2 is making promises and keeping promises. Number 3 is following up and following through. Number 4 is getting connected. Number 5 is having meetings and learning how to connect emotionally and mentally with one another. And number 6 is learning how to establish a competency or a partnership that's going to move you forward in whatever the professional relationship is. And then number 7 is create high performance teams, planning to win, and then brilliant execution. Those last 3, or as you begin to think about, how do I put a team together? Those
Yes.
first 3 is all interpersonal. How do I deal with individuals as I meet them? And then how do I now secure and start to begin to leverage that individual relationship, is in the second phase, right? And so you think about this, if you do this correctly, you will be masterful at creating relationships. You'll be masterful at making sure that you don't make mistakes along the way that put you in a situation where, and I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I know many of us have done this in the audience. There are people in your past, professors, teachers, trainers, leaders of your organizations, that if you had had a quality relationship with them, things would be much different for you in your current situation. Because when you have a high quality relationship with someone, um, they will support you when you need the support. They will give you the benefit of the doubt when you need the benefit of the doubt. And they will trust you more than a person who they don't have a high quality relationship with. Now, I'm
Yes.
not saying, if you look at that scale, it may look like I'm saying that trust takes you have to get through all these 9 steps to get to trust. No, trust begins to start happening from step number 1. And step number 1 is listening. Now, my grandmother used to say, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. You need to use them appropriately. And I never knew what she was saying, because I was a real talkative kid. I was always running off at the mouth. My uncles and cousins used to always tell me, but the reality is, you get a lot more from people when you learn to put them at the center stage. When you learn every interaction that you have with them should leave them feeling like they're special.
Yes.
Every interaction should make them feel like they learned something about themselves, or they belong to something special, or they are somebody special. And the time that they spent with you was meaningful, was significant, and very, very relevant.
Yes.
And so that only happens when you follow these 12 skills that I've outlined here on page 3 of the document. If you go down to page 3, you're going to see that there are 12 listening skills. That if you really, really learn to embrace these skills, you are going to be masterful at making sure that people feel comfortable with you, people want to work with you, people appreciate you for the values and principles you bring to the table. And what's important about these things, and I want you to guys understand this, this goes beyond race, this goes beyond age, this goes beyond any of the isms that you think you want to put in front of a relationship. You look at another person and you judge them for who you think they are, or that you might be worried about how they might judge you for who you are. And you need to understand that humans are the same essentially when it comes to these things. They all want to be significant, they all want to be relevant, and they all want to make sure that whatever they're doing is important, right?
Yes.
They want to be valued. And if you are making a person feel these things, it doesn't matter whether it's your kid, your business partner, your person that you're in a personal relationship with or professional relationship. If you follow these 12 steps, you're going to be masterful at every single relationship you get in, from at least the listening point of view, because no one will be able to accuse you of not understanding, right? Because
Yes.
you have done your job as a listener. It is a skill. It is not something that many of us are skilled at until we have trained and run through the gauntlet and really, really practice this. So, number one, becoming a maven whisperer. What do I mean by that? That means being able to talk to people who you already feel are above your level. Yeah, they're already great at what they're doing. They're already magnificent at who they are and what they bring to the table. They've already got some level of achievement or whatever it is that you're impressed. You need to be able to speak to them in a way that still that doesn't compromise who you are, but
Yes.
still helps them access that there's something special about you,
You. Hmm.
right?
Yes,
And
that's
so
true.
to do that, you got to listen to them really well and highlight, what you see in them specifically that's special. Don't just be a fan and go, "I love you, Oprah." That's great that you, and I'm sure Oprah receives it all the time. But Oprah would much likely have, much be better when if she heard something like this. I attended a workshop that you gave back in when I was in college, and you went through this 10 leadership steps that were very, very important. I used all 10 of them to grow myself professionally. I just want to say thank you for
Yes.
letting me have that benefit of your
Yes.
wisdom at the time. And I see that you have used them yourself to elevate your things that you've done in a
Yes.
special way. Is there anything that's unique about that you've changed in the last decade? Now you're in a different kind of conversation.
Yes.
You're in a
Yes.
different kind of conversation than just going, "Oh, I love you. You're
Yeah, that
amazing."
fangirl, fanboy.
You know, you got to stop that. The second thing you got to learn how to do is be inquisitive. Number two, ask and
Ask
shut up.
questions.
Learn to ask amazing questions. Now, I put the word in here, become a masterful inquisitor, but I don't want you to make people feel like they're under the gauntlet, right? You know,
Yes, that can
you don't
happen.
you don't want to beat them up with the questions that you ask them, but you want to be authentically interested in something about them that makes them unique and special.
Yes.
If you are not genuinely, authentically interested in something, don't inquire about it, because you might be inquiring about something that you don't care about. And people do this and they call rapport building all
Yes.
the time. And they end up pointing out something that is insignificant or irrelevant. For instance,
Yes.
you may look at the back of my wall behind me and see these plaques back there. And you may go, oh my God, it's amazing. You got this award and you've done blah, 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 blah. Thinking I care about those plaques. And they could be just a meaningless backdrop for me.
Yes.
So you're trying to impress me with how impressed you are with me is what
Me.
I'm doing, but you're impressed with stuff that doesn't matter to me.
Yes. And
You
that
know,
happens. That
and so you
happens
have to
a
be
lot.
very careful when if you were going to do something like that, and you would go, I see you got those plaques back there. What are they? And then if I say, oh my God, this one was my
Hmm.
certified basketball coordinator coach, and this one is my Lord Fairfax award, and this one is my blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
And then you can see from me how excited I am about it.
Yes.
Now you can get excited about it.
Because you asked the open ended question. You didn't make an assumption that it was important. You asked
Right,
a question that allowed them to be able to respond in a meaningful way.
right. And that's very
That's
difficult because a lot of times people don't have the social intelligence
right.
to really understand and figure out what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
And
So what
what's
they
not.
do in defense is they stay with small talk,
Yes.
or they talk about things like the weather
Yeah.
or your
I
favorite
don't do
football
well.
team or whatever's going on in football or what's going on in politics or what's going. They talk about that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and that may or may not have any relevance or significance to the person you're
To
talking to.
not only that, but to the opportunity that is in front of you. You're dropping the ball on the opportunity that's in front of you to create a meaningful connection,
Right.
right? And so that's what happens. It's small talk. I've never been good at small talk, and I will tell you that I am not good at small talk. Just tell me something about you that I don't know, and that's what I do. I
Right.
choose to want to know. I want to know the who I'm talking to. I want to know what's going on with you, and vice versa. I don't want someone who's going to always talk about themselves. I too want to be able to share who I am, because if you're only talking about yourself, then that means you don't really care about me. You just needed someone to be able to brag about yourself about, and that's that's taking up time that I'll never get back. You can do that with someone else,
Exactly.
and
Where's the
so
space for me? And again, back to meaningful relevance and significance. How
yes,
do I know that this is meaningful, relevant, significant if I don't have a chance to just be me in the moment?
yes,
There's no way. If you
it's true.
robbed me of the opportunity for me to show up, but then you're going to ask me for something,
Yes, yes,
you're going to ask me to be your mentor, your friend, your counselor, your teacher, your trainer. People ask me all the time, will you be my coach? I was like, I don't know if I'll be your coach.
yeah, because I
We're
don't
going
know
to have
you.
to talk.
Yeah, I don't know you. But you
Right,
know what you know what always, I always know when I have no intentions of giving a person that connected with me, no matter how high or low you might think that you are on the totem pole.
mm-hmm.
I know within the first 30 seconds of speaking to you, I know if I'm going to walk in the other direction if I ever see you again. Because it's all about how you approach me. A lot of times people approach you, especially if they know something about you, and they immediately approach you and want something. That makes no sense. I don't know
Absolutely makes
you.
no sense.
I don't
Right.
know you. Or want to sell me something. Buy this from me because it's the greatest this. I don't know you. Why are you trying to sell me something that you don't even know whether or not it's something that I need? Did I tell you that I needed it? Did someone
Oh,
tell
but
you
yeah,
that I needed
everybody
it?
needs it.
I hear that all the time,
Everybody needs
especially on LinkedIn. Everyone is pushing their own agenda, but
it.
they're not listening. They say they want to establish relationship, but the first thing they
Oh,
do when you accept their request is try to sell you something.
nope.
Don't do that. I don't
That's
know you.
horrible. That's horrible. But and that's a horrible way to build a relationship. Because if you try to build a relationship on a transaction,
Yes.
Just think about it. Maybe you do get something in front of me that I actually want and need.
But it's
Like
transactional.
maybe you bust through my doubt and all my fears and all my
Hmm.
hesitations, and you show me something that's so magical and wonderful. I gotta
Hmm.
have it. Guess what? That product that you showed me isn't you.
Hmm. And I will buy the product, but still want nothing to do with you. So
Right.
it's
Or
transactional.
even worse, because I don't like you, I'll buy the product from somebody else
Somebody
because you
else.
just introduced me to the product.
Exactly.
And because I don't like you, I'm not going to support you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know. And I
As
think
soon
people
as
make the
someone
mistake
tries
of
to sell me some,
thinking that their product or their service somehow is so magical and that
hmm
everybody should want it. And I get it. You've done the research, you've done the homework, you've created a business or sales product, whatever it is you created or you bought into. You want to tell everybody about it. But the
yeah.
fact is, everybody's not ready to hear about it.
Yes.
And so you have to be very, very careful in how you present whatever you think your idea is, because the last thing you want to do, especially in a social media world, is to make the wrong people upset with you.
Yes.
Because the wrong people are then going to spread the news and let everybody they possibly can know. They'll Snapchat, they'll Twitter, they'll TikTok
Hmm.
it, they'll do whatever they got to do to tell everybody in the world that you're not a good person to deal with.
Yes. They will.
And there goes your reputation before you
Yeah.
even establish it. And so it's critically important. That's why these relationships are so critical, because when people have relationships to protect them, they don't make the same kinds of mistakes.
Yes.
And if they do, they recover quickly because they know they're not out there by themselves. They're
Yes.
not so quick to be defeated, right? Because that's about building resilience
Right.
and when my good Delta friends out there, Audrey, she knows about this fortitude, right? They'll say, all my Delta friends, they love that word fortitude. That means a lot to them. But it's just another way of saying resilience and a person who is strong. Um, so anyway, back to the list here. When you look at the next thing you have to do, you have to make sure that people that you're talking to, they have to feel something. If they don't feel like what's going on between you two in the conversation that you're having with each other is stimulating, is engaging, has some kind of benefit to them, then you got a problem. And when I say benefit,
Yes.
what I'm talking about is they need to know that, again, it's meaningful, significance, and relevant, but they also have to feel like they got something from it.
Yes.
Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody, like a stranger that you may have met, either on a train or a bus or a long ride, and you just kicked it off and you just had a wonderful
You had
conversation
wonderful
that never
conversation
happened?
and never even bothered to ask each other your names.
Exactly.
That's the best ones where you walk away and you're like, oh man, I didn't even get that person's name. But that's okay because you didn't need it because it's irrelevant. It was that there was something that both of you got from that conversation,
Hmm.
and there were takeaways from both parties.
And my wife will
You,
come and pick me up at the train station or the plane station or wherever I came in, and she'll say, "Oh, you look great. What happened?" Like, oh, I had the most amazing conversation, and I'll tell her all about it, right? And this person and this person, this person. She said, "Well, who was this
Mhm.
person?" Like, I don't
I
know.
don't know. Yes, I
Well,
do the same.
that wasn't
I
important.
do the same thing. They're like, "What do you mean you don't know?" I don't know. What do you mean? So you were having this long, drawn out conversation with someone, and you never bothered to ask their name? And I'm like, "No, it never. It's not even that it never occurred to me, and it didn't. It's just it wasn't. It didn't seem important at the time.
Right. But if
We
you
just
ever bumped
started
into that
talking.
person again, and this is the test right here. If you ever bumped into that person again, you know, wouldn't it be like bumping into an old friend?
Yes, you wouldn't know each other's name, but I know you. That's
Remember
what
that
we'd say.
time we
I
had
know
that
you. Remember
conversation?
when? And we just talk and talk and talk again. And sometimes, once again, we walk away and still don't know each other's name. I
Right.
think it's just beautiful because it means we didn't want anything from each other. We got it's that energy exchange, that thing that got exchanged as you were sitting there with someone. There are times where people, because you're exchanging energy, there are people who are pulling your energy,
Right.
and you just feel so worn out while you're having that conversation that you have to like figure out a way to extricate yourself, right? So
Exactly.
it's it's how you're building these relationships and the
It's
listening,
so
and
critically
these
important.
things on your list is it's spot on.
I think it's so critically important that, again, if you're having a conversation where a person and that person feels bad after that conversation, this did not go right.
Not
You
only
know,
that,
and
don't
you certainly can't go back and ask that person to have another conversation with you.
no, you can't, because when they see you, they're going to run.
Right. And if you're not aware, again, back to social intelligence, if you're not aware that
Hmm.
you just put a time bomb in this potential relationship and made it
Yes,
impossible to move it forward, because you don't know how to have a clear, basic, you know, authentic conversation with a person, it's
yes.
going to be very important. Because you're not going to be able to leverage this relationship because
No,
you don't have it yet.
not only that, Marvin, but anyone that they know, if they're standing next to someone when they see you coming,
Oh my
you can
gosh.
forget about that second that second
Yes, yes,
connection,
yes.
because they're going to make sure that they warn that person what you're about to do to them. So they're both going to disperse. So now you didn't just, when you're, what people don't realize is you're not just messing at that one relationship, because guess what, that one person is connected to a person who's connected to a person who's connected to a person who's connected to a person. So you're
Amen.
actually messing up many relationships
You so
from
are.
that
You don't even
one
notice it yet.
conversation. And you'll never be able to redeem yourself, because it is true when they say you only get one time, one chance to make a first impression. Now you
This
will
is why
you may
number
get,
4 is
huh?
so important. This is why
Yes.
number 4 is so important because when I say win the intelligence game, it's really
Yes.
about knowing ahead of time who you're talking
Mhm.
to. Do your homework. Most of us out there right now have social media pages where we post information, not because we don't want people to see it. We
Exactly.
post that information out there because we want people to see it. Don't waste my time asking me basic, simple questions that indicate to me that you didn't care enough to even just go check out my LinkedIn page,
Yeah.
my Facebook page, or whatever it is. But you're going to ask me for the world and you have done nothing. You have put
Nothing.
no energy
Yes.
into figuring out who I am, what I stand for, what I'm all about, and I don't hide any of that.
Yeah.
In
Me
fact, I
neither.
put it out there so I don't have to talk about it.
Yes.
I put it out there so that when you talk to me, you know who you're talking to and you don't
Exactly.
waste my time.
You know what I stand for. You know what I don't stand for. You know my
Exactly.
likes. You know my dislikes. You won't know everything about me. Even on my personal Facebook page and social media pages, you won't know everything about me, because I'm not one to. I go on there with a purpose, right? If there's no purpose, I just don't. I just don't do it.
Right.
But if there's anything that you need to know about me on a business level, or even just from a human perspective, there are things out there to let you know who I am. So when you approach me, and I do make comments about certain things that's happened. So if you at least went and did a little bit of research and so looked at a few of my posts, you'll see that this thing that you're about to do rubs me the wrong way. And I'm one of those people who I will not stand there for 10 years and let you do it. I will let you know I'm walking away. I will say, okay, this conversation has come to an end. Have a nice day, and I'll walk away. And I don't feel any shame or any
No,
remorse about doing it.
you shouldn't. Because, again, like you said, you have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of your purpose is to find the people who are going to support that purpose.
Yes.
Right? And if you're busy working with people who have no intention of
Yes.
supporting that person, then you're outside this. Now we're getting spiritual now. Because, I believe we all have gifts, we all have talents.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
all supposed to do everything we can to maximize those talents. But if you let somebody take you off your game, and now they got you playing a different game than the one that
Yes.
you're supposed to be
To be
playing,
plain.
then how is that good for you?
Yes, it isn't.
Because you're gonna end up confused about
Yes,
who you are, where you are, why you're doing the things that you're doing, and we don't want any of that. So that's why
Exactly.
listening is so important. When you're listening, you're not just listening to get what you want out of a person. You're listening to find the people who want to be
Yes.
on your team, who will love
To be.
participating and being a part of whatever it is you're doing.
Exactly.
Right? But if you don't do this good, or if you don't do this well, you're going to bump into anybody, everybody. Now,
Yes.
I mentioned this earlier, right? Because anybody, everybody, because I know people got products that everybody needs it. Here's the problem with that. Even if everybody needs it, they don't know
Yes.
they need it. They don't know they want it.
Yes.
They don't know they can afford it.
Hmm.
And these are the three prospecting questions that anybody has any questions about sales need to understand. If you could only talk to people who needed it, who wanted it, and who would afford it, those are the only people you should ever talk to. The problem is
Yes.
you gotta figure out who they are,
There are.
right? So you gotta
Hmm.
talk to a lot of different
A lot of
people
people.
in a way that's going to be conducive to them giving you the information that you need to know so you can figure out, is this a person I need to invite on my advisory council?
Yes.
Is this a person who could be one to help me with financing the next big deal I got going on? Is
Yes.
this a person who is going to give me the kind of advice I need? And I need to think about structuring some kind of partnership agreement with them. But until you have done your work, your
You won't
homework,
know.
and your engagement with them, you'll never know. Now, each of these, the rest of these steps, again, they're all critical, but they're so important. I'm going to get away from the steps for a second and just kind of read you out some of the quotes that we pulled together to pull this training together. And
Okay.
if you think about it, this one's from Stephen Covey. This is my favorite one. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. There was a rhythm and a timing in
Yes.
how you should listen to others, especially others who you think you might want to enter into a professional relationship with
So
in
great.
the future. If you're spending more time talking to them or talking at them than helping them feel understood, you're never going to get to a situation where they're going to want to listen to you in the same way. And like many other virtues, you have to be bold enough, careful enough, and bright enough to go first.
Yes.
You know, you want understanding. Of course, you want to be understood. But in order for you, for another person to even spend the time to pay attention to you have to do it first.
Yes. Yes.
You have
Yes.
to be willing to engage them
Yes.
first with a level of attention and kindness and care and authenticity and in a way put yourself out there.
And humility. You
Yes,
have to humble yourself.
yes,
You have to humble yourself. And it's not easy for everyone, but you have to humble yourself so that you can and put yourself in some vulnerable positions. You put yourself in vulnerable positions to get trampled on or talked down to or whatever, but you have to be vulnerable in order to be able to receive anything. If you're not vulnerable and if you don't put yourself out there, then you never know what you're going to get. And most of the time when you put yourself in a vulnerable position, you know when you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position with the wrong person. You just chose to take to take a swing at that, because we do know when that's not the right person. And then sometimes, we might make the mistake of going after something that we really shouldn't be going after, or doing something we shouldn't be doing. But other than that, being vulnerable is important, and listening to someone else. You can't want things from people when first give of yourself.
yes. Now that goes back to the big question we talked about before: is you need to bring something to the table. What do you have to give? And in this case, in the listening thing, if all you have to give is attention, right? That is an amazingly good and important gift to give.
Yes.
Here's why: all of us suffer from a lack of attention.
Attention.
we all have in a way attention deficit, not attention deficit disorder. It means what I'm saying is we don't get enough
Enough
attention.
attention.
And if we got more attention, if more people attended to our thoughts, our needs, our things, then we could find people who we could be compatible with. We could find
Yes.
people who we could share more with. We could be more comfortable in the spaces that we're in.
And we could be more productive as
Oh,
well. We could do
critical.
so much more. We could do so much more you do so much more connecting with the right person than you do with the wrong people.
And leaders specifically
Yes.
really, really have to grab this information and understand if you're not listening to your people, if you're
Yes.
not paying attention, and I mean that's a gift you give, right? You're
Yes.
paying
Mhm.
attention.
Attention.
If you're not paying attention to your people, um, you can't really second guess when they decide they're going to leave you and go to
Yes.
some other company, go to some other
Yes.
job, because you weren't
Because you're not
paying
giving them.
attention to them.
Yeah,
You
you
didn't do
weren't giving
anything
them what they needed
right. And
because we all
sometimes that's
need
all that
something.
we need.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need to know that somebody else understands us.
Absolutely. We all need something. So that's the whole relational thing, right? You can't be a taker. So you have takers and you have givers. But the giver is going to get tired of giving at some point. But the
Yep,
taker never gets tired of taking.
that's
Isn't
right.
the taker never gets tired of taking, but the giver always get tired of giving.
I love it. Where'd you
So
get
the
that from?
taker will go
Did,
and get
did you just
something
make that
from
up? Tell me
someone
you just
else.
made that up because I'm
I
stealing it.
did. I
I'm
did.
stealing it. I'm
You
stealing
can
it.
have it.
The taker never gets tired. Gail Walker said it. I'm gonna give you credit, but I'm telling you, I'm stealing that one
Yes.
because it's so true.
It's true. The taker never gets tired of taking, but the giver always get tired of giving.
It takes no energy to take,
No, no,
because
no.
it takes a ton of energy to give,
Yes.
especially if you're like an extrovert, or an introvert like
An
me.
introvert. So
Yeah,
am
because
I. You know what? Most artistic people, and people who are productive tend to be introverts, and the
hmm
extroverts. They tend, they spend so much time all over the place.
right,
We tend to be more introspective,
right,
introverted.
more cerebral, more
Yes,
introspective.
and we
If I
we
give you
sit. You
something,
know what I always people say this to me all the time. They're like, "You're always over in a corner, just just watching," and I'm like, because I'm just watching and I'm listening. I've been I created this saying when I was a teenager, and I never understood why I said it. I'd say I always when people say, what are you doing? I say, I'm here to observe and serve. And I'd be saying this. I always had it in my mind from I was a child. But as I grew, as I got into my teenage years, I just used to say it. I'm here to observe and serve. And it's so true to this day still. I used to have it on my email signature, but I, from an early age, I knew I was here to serve. I knew I was here to help other people. I was never here to help just myself. But because in helping others, I am helping myself, that's where I
absolutely,
get my satisfaction, right?
absolutely.
However, if you are a taker, you get on my nerves. And I cannot be around you but for so long. And once I realize that you are a taker, I have to cut you off.
It's so true. I teach a course called Benefit Speak, where I teach people to lead conversations with the benefits that they believe they have to share with others,
Yes.
so that people are not wondering, well, what is it that you
What
bring?
you want. Hmm.
What is it that you have to share?
Hmm.
And and it's like one of the skills that I have, and I'm like you, I sit back in the corner a lot,
Yeah.
right? But when I come out of that corner,
I
oh
have a
baby,
lot to say
I'm
because
coming
I've
out
been
swinging.
listening.
Right.
No, everyone else has been talking, and rarely are they listening to each other. And you would see, like, you are able, because we're sitting in the corner and watching these different dynamics, and we get to see the energy exchange. We can tell who is sick of who is about to blow up, who is having, where misunderstandings are taking place, because we're hearing and we're seeing all these different conversations and these different energy exchange. People, you know, I'm not one of those, oh, energy getting crystals. I'm not one of those. No, no, no. But energy is real.
It is.
And it is a part of the the universe that we live in, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
there's energy that's being exchanged by people, and you can tell which ones are positive, and you can tell when things are going very well, and you can tell when they are not. And the moment you ask me to come out of that corner, if you ask me a question, I have some answers for you. And I have some
Absolutely.
things to say to anybody who wants to listen, because what I have to say is going to help you, even if you don't realize it is, because I've been watching and I've been listening. And I can tell you, hey, this is what's happening right here. And they're like, how did you know? Because I was listening. Hey, this is what's happening over here. How do you know? Because I was watching and I was listening. And just the act of just listening and watching people's their body, how their body is, what their eyes are saying. Are they moving away from you, or are they pulling in? Are they creating space, or are they lessening, space in between? And all of that has to do with listening, because the more they listen, the more they know whether they want to move closer or further away, right?
I tell
All
you
those
what,
things that you have on your list.
I'm absolutely positive you and I would agree on this. Of all the negotiation tables I have sat at and all of the high level meetings and discussions that I've been a part of, what I've learned about people and their behavior and the social spaces is so critical. Like when people if you take me into a negotiation right
Yes,
now, just as a person sitting at the side, just you take me into any negotiation, I'm gonna show you how to win. I'm gonna show
yes,
you how to win that negotiation
yes.
because and that's the thing that it's very difficult to explain, but the reality is it's the years of experience
And the
in
knowing
dealing with all kinds of people from all walks of life and understanding how to unpack that experience, when to share it
and when
and
not
when
to.
to keep it to myself
Yes.
is a critically important skill.
But you know what? You were also born with this special innate ability. That's our superpower,
I believe it. Yes, you're right.
right? We have I don't have any other word for it except for this knowing.
Yes. Yes.
When people speak to me, I know it might sound crazy, but when people speak to me, I see mental images form in my head,
Right.
that's working out different solutions and making connections, and that's what's happening in my head. And sometimes you can see it in my eyes, because my eyes will start moving, right? Because as you're speaking, your words are being digested, and then things are solutions and different things are formulating in my head, that by the time in a coaching session, when the client, when they stop talking and they're like, I don't know what to do. In here, I'm like, I have a plan. They're like, how can you have a plan? Because while you were talking, the plan was being formulated in my head. Here,
Exactly.
here's some options for you to take. If you take this one, this is what I foresee may be a potential, eventuality. This one, you might come into, this might happen in this situation. This might happen in the one, but here's what I've come up with. You choose one based on what I've told you, and what you now have to go into your own knowing place and
What you just
see which
described,
option is best for you. But based on what we see, we there's the it's something we were born with. You can't
what you just
explain it.
described, Gail, is the difference between two things: wisdom and knowledge.
Yes.
Knowledge is what you know.
Yes.
Wisdom is literally who you are
Yes.
as a result of the culmination of all the knowing,
Yes.
right? So the wisdom is what you're describing. It's a difference between intuition
Yes.
and instinct.
Think.
You may have an instinctual reaction to something, it could be wrong,
Yes.
but your intuition,
Never
and
wrong.
that thing is spot on. You can't necessarily prove it. You
Yes.
can't necessarily, you know, to somebody who doesn't have the same knowing,
Knowing.
if you try to describe it to them, they're not going to get
Yeah. They're gonna think that you're woo, but you're not. It just
which is why you have to
because
say
it's
this is
our
how you do
connection.
stuff.
We're connected.
Right.
When we did the work, and I think everyone who, when they get to a place where they find centeredness within themselves, when they become one and start working with our subconscious and our conscious mind meets. And when we get to this place of understanding, so we stop letting our subconscious mind rule our lives, because it is that part of us that make us do some really crazy things, and we and our conscious mind, we don't realize what's driving us. What's driving us is whatever's going on in unresolved issues on the subconscious level, right? So
You know,
Audrey asked the question, how did you stop self-sabotaging? I became the master of knowing myself. I had to master me. And when I became a master of myself, Audrey, whether you're here or not, when I became a master of myself, I became the full and the best version of myself. And I'm always growing. We never stop growing because we never stop learning, right? And it just makes me a better listener. It makes me a better coach. It makes me someone that, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, at what stage in your life, and I make it a point to make sure no one, I have no problems with walking up to someone on the street that's holding up a sign and feeding them, giving them whatever they need, and saying, "Can I pray with you?"
that's
I
right.
have I have no problem with going into a space, a business space, and seeing someone who's having a really hard time, and saying to them too, even though I won't say it out, into the whole world, but I'll say, "Do you mind if I pray for you?" "Oh my God, will you?" You can tell there's that knowing for us, and that listening, where when you listen, you know what people need at different times in different
Right.
spaces. You won't do things the same everywhere you go,
No.
but
Oh, don't you?
for us, when you get to that centered place, you will be able to, at every moment, be able to, it's like, it's not even you, it's this, you're just instinctively and knowingly giving people what they need, and it just keeps bringing people to you. Question: are you like anything like me, where people will just walk up to you and start telling you the most deepest things, and
Of
you've never
course.
seen this person in
Of
your
course
life,
they
and
are.
they tell you everything
Yes.
about themselves,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and
All the
you're
time.
like, in your mind, you're going, what in the world? But it's it's something that's coming, emanating from us, right?
That's right.
Because we are, come and give us your problems.
Well, and that's also why I have to be careful, and
Yes.
I can't listen to everybody.
Everybody.
I cannot,
No.
because I'll get lost in
And
their drama
yes.
if I do that.
Yes.
And I have to be very careful, very selective.
Yes.
Which another thing I put it in the document. You guys can read it for yourselves, because I'm not going through it. We're done for that for the day. Gail and I have had such a wonderful discussion. She's taken me completely off of my game in the best way possible, by the way. So I'm not
I'm
gonna.
sorry.
I don't have anything. No, no, don't be sorry. This was good, good, good. There's two things you mentioned that I want to share with you. You mentioned that moment where things are clicking and things are just going together and things are working the way they're supposed to work. Um, uh, Dr. Michelle McShitney, I always pronounce his name wrong. Pronounce that as flow. He studied that
Flow.
many
Yes.
years, and so when you get into flow state, that's exactly what's happening in your mind. And a lot of times you can't understand, people can't understand it, what it is, but it's when you're making all the right connections and everything's working well with you, cognitively. Now, a great book by Marshall Goldsmith that talks about this is called the Mojo Quadrant. Is when you got your mojo working
Mm-hmm.
and everything's working the way
Yes.
it's supposed to work. That's when your mojo's working, man.
Send me
Nobody can
that.
take it off.
Hold on. Let me write that down.
So it's
Mojo
Dr.
Quadrant.
I'll put it in the notes, but it's definitely the Mojo Quadrant by Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who is probably the best business coach on the planet. He really is. I love to say I'm one of the best, but I pale in comparison to Dr. Goldsmith. And I think that it's important that we give credit where credit is due. This stuff and the beautiful thing about our conversation. Let me tell you what this is for me. You just validated all the truth that I already knew was true, right? You just made sure that I know there's another person. There's somebody out there who's right down the street.
I know. That's
who
crazy.
gets it. And it
Yes.
doesn't happen every day. That does
No,
not happen every day.
no.
And so
I can't tell you when's the
I thank
last
God
time
for you.
this has happened.
I thank God for you. This was meant to
Me
happen.
too.
We can do some special things. I already know. And for those of you who get the pleasure of watching this conversation unfold, that's a blessing for you. You need to replay this, play it over and over again, follow all the links that we shared with you all, get engaged, get involved. We do this every single week. Definitely come back. Definitely follow this. This has been, and I say this almost every show, but I mean it even more so than the last time I said it. This has been the best show ever. Because I guess
Thank you.
we're getting better at this over time, and that's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to get better in life.
Yes.
You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to move forward, and that's a good thing. And so I thank all of you all for your attention. Those of you who are still on, I really appreciate it. Those of you gone, and we probably between Gail and I probably brought y'all too much energy. I understand when you had enough already, and you got what you needed, right? And you bounced.
And
We
it's Amy
good.
Bounce.
Good. But you can check out the recording. It's going to be up on Facebook. It's going to be up on YouTube. I had a wonderful time, Gail.
I
I'm
had
going
a
to put you
wonderful time too.
backstage as we close out, Gail, but don't go anywhere
I
because I
won't.
think I think you and I got some stuff to talk about. All right, guys, it has been an amazing show. Gail is like a supercharged bunny, right? Like the energy bunny, right? She brings so much positive energy in the room, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to be with her and be here. And she literally, I gotta tell you all, she accepted my invitation at the very very last moment, and because I had a whole host of people who just basically bowed out on me, but she rescued the show, and so I'm very 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 happy that happened, and we put another wonderful show in the tank. And we're going to sign off now. If you guys haven't already followed us, go ahead and follow us. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like. Go ahead and share this thing. Don't keep this a secret because this could help so many people to just think a little deeper, do a little bit more. Next week, we're getting in deep with the second part of the 9-step to relationship. And we're talking about not just listening, but what happens next. Once you've listened, what do you do next? You got to start making promises. You got to start following up and following through because the relationship can't end with just that one conversation. You got to move it forward if you're going to move it to a point where you can leverage it and you can cross leverage and get the mutual benefit of being in a relationship. Many of us can have great conversations, but if it stops right there, like the persons with Gail and I talked about, if you meet them on the train or on a plane and you get off, you don't even know their name, there's no opportunity to go forward. Don't waste an opportunity like that, especially with the right people. And we'll talk more about that next week, guys. God bless you. Have a great day. It was a wonderful show, and I look forward to seeing you guys again next Friday at Coffee Tea You and Me, right here, live at Coach Powell, 3 o'clock.